Hey everybody, this is Bill. I'm the salty old Marine. Today I want to talk about pyramiding. What is pyramiding and how does it apply to VA disability benefits? So you may have heard this term from time to time, and sometimes it can be a little mystifying. So let's dig into it. Pyramiding is when a veteran receives multiple ratings for the same condition or disability. So the VA does not allow this. They want every symptom, and that's the important term here, every symptom rated only one time, even if it shows up under multiple conditions. So here's an example. Let's say you're diagnosed with both PTSD and anxiety. So those are two different mental conditions, and you could have both of them, and you could be diagnosed for both of them, and they're both VA disabilities in terms of getting a VA disability compensation, right? So you could get compensation under PTSD, you could get compensation under anxiety. However, they both can cause the same symptoms. So for example, PTSD can cause sleep problems. So can anxiety. Now, if you're reporting your condition to the VA and you're reporting your symptoms straight, honestly and fairly, the VA can't untangle what caused your loss of sleep. Was it the anxiety? Was it the PTSD? Well, nobody knows. So that's why the VA is only going to rate that one time. So let's say that you, the veteran, have a diagnosis for PTSD and for anxiety, and you submit a claim for both. What's going to happen is you're going to be evaluated on both conditions, but you're only going to get one rating. Let's assume that both get service-connected. So you get service-connected for PTSD and you get service-connected for anxiety, right? You're only going to get one rating. It's going to be the higher of the two. So if you're rated for, say, 70% PTSD and maybe 50% anxiety, you're only going to get 70%. And that's not VA math. That's due to anti-pyramiding rules. So that's in a nutshell how pyramiding can affect your claim. It can also slow down the claim process because, of course, if you're filing for multiple claims and you can only be rated for one of them, it's going to take a little extra time to do both or multiple claims, even if only one of them can be rated. So you might want to think about that when you filed your claim. I made that mistake myself. I filed for PTSD and depression because I thought I had a diagnosis for both PTSD and depression based on my speaking to my VA therapists, right? I thought they had diagnosed me with both. As it turns out, I was only diagnosed with PTSD, and so my claim for depression was denied, and I guess rightfully so. But quite honestly, it slowed down my claim as they examined both claims, and had I been diagnosed for depression, it still wouldn't have affected the final outcome because I could only get a rating under one of those mental health conditions, and in this case it was PTSD. So even if I had had a diagnosis for depression, it wouldn't have done anything for me, so there's really no point in me having filed for it. I didn't know that at the time. Obviously I know that now, so I'm spreading that information as best I can. So how do you avoid pyramiding? I mean, what if you just don't know? Well, one of the ways you can do it is to keep detailed symptom logs. So if you're keeping logs of your symptoms, you'll notice that some of them have overlapping symptoms, right? If you're keeping a log, you're going to know whether or not they overlap. So that should be a clue to you. Document every impact of every condition individually and explain clearly in your personal statement which symptoms come from which condition. Does that make sense? I mean, chances are that if you file for PTSD and IBS, that they're not going to be rated the same because of anti-pyramiding rules. But it does help if in your personal statement, in your logs that you might submit, that you talk about what IBS causes you and what PTSD causes you, and they're clearly different, right? So that's a little tip there. You might want to include that. Okay, so pyramiding can trip up even experienced veterans, but understanding it can make a big difference in your rating. Document everything very carefully, be clear, avoid double counting your symptoms. So that's all I've got for you on this video. It's kind of a short one. I'm Bill. I'm the Salty Old Marine. Please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, drop a comment. Tell me how you feel about pyramiding, anti-pyramiding rules, and does this make sense to you? And have you ever had this applied to you? Just let me know. And as always, have a great day.